How's everyone doing? Today I'll be doing the ultimate horror movie tag. I've seen a bunch of horror movie tag videos on here in the past, and I decided to go ahead and make my own. So basically, if you're a fan of horror movies, you should do this horror movie tag. You can either make a video yourself, I'll put all the questions down below in the description section, or if you don't make videos, you can leave a comment down below, let me know what your choices are. But now let's go ahead and get into the ultimate horror movie tag. And there's 20 questions. First up is, what is your all-time favorite horror movie? For me, it's John Carpenter's The Thing. Again, I've talked about this so much on my channel. The sense of paranoia, the isolation, Dean Cundey's cinematography, Rob Bottin's practical effects, John Carpenter's directing, and Neil Morricone's score, the whole cast. It's just amazing. I absolutely love it. My all-time favorite movie. The first horror movie, number 2, is, what is the first horror movie you remember seeing? When I was a little kid, probably around like 7, I believe I watched the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and I remember Johnny Depp getting sucked in the bed and the blood splattering up to the ceiling. And then the next one I saw was The Exorcist, right around the same time. I would sneak downstairs late at night and watch horror movies when my parents were asleep. And they gave me so many nightmares, but I was just kind of obsessed with it. And I remember when I was a little kid, I would go to the video rental stores and see all the VHS tapes with the awesome horror artwork and just being really intrigued. Next up is the horror movie that you've watched the most. For me, again, John Carpenter's The Thing. It's my all-time favorite movie. I've watched it over 100 times, and it never gets old to me. I just appreciate it more each time I watch it. And don't judge me, I'm drinking a Zima. I was too young to try this out when they first were released way back in the day, and I picked up a 6-pack, and it's not bad. It's your typical kind of like fruity beverage. I thought it was going to taste like Sprite, but it tastes like kind of cheap champagne, has like a peachy flavor to it. What is your favorite horror genre? That's number 4. For me, I guess I would have to say slasher would be my favorite genre. I would also say like alien abduction movies would be the one that creeps me out the most, but I feel like there aren't that many great alien abduction horror movies out there, so I'm going to go with the slasher genre. Number 5, what's your favorite horror comedy? Now, it's so hard to choose one, but if I had to choose one, I think I would go Return of the Living Dead, but Blood Diner would be right there. Dead Alive, Slither, Beetlejuice, Gremlins, Ghostbusters, Killer Clowns from Outer Space is one that I watched a lot growing up as a kid. What We Do in the Shadows is a recent one that was really good, as well as Housebound. Both of those are excellent recent horror comedies. Next up would be, what is your favorite zombie movie? Again, I'd probably have to go with Return of the Living Dead. You've got talking zombies, brains, you got Tarman, they got the great soundtrack, Running Zombies. Just everything about that movie, that whole punk attitude. It's a way of life. Then I'd have to go with the original Dawn of the Dead, George A. Romero, who recently passed away. May he rest in peace. The original Dead trilogy was just amazing for me, but the original Dawn of the Dead would be probably next on the list, then Living Dead, then Day. Dead Snow is another one that was recent that was really good. Next up would be favorite werewolf movie. An American Werewolf in London, that transformation scene, it was just awesome. Some good humor in there too. Dog Soldiers would be number 2. Really love the look to the werewolves in that one. Next up would be, what is your favorite vampire movie? 30 Days of Night. Again, I love horror movies with a snowy setting. That had it in spades. I love the way the blood pops in the white snow. The looks of the vampires, they're just so creepy. And I love Ben Foster in there too as the stranger. The whole cast worked well. I love the way that it didn't take a cop-out Hollywood ending. Absolutely love that one. Their own language, just so much creepiness to it. I love the concept, 30 Days of Night, where the vampires can just roam free. Fright Night, Lost Boys, even Fright Night 2 is a lot of fun. Let the Right One In, From Dusk Till Dawn. I think from Let the Right One In is kind of like a transcendent film. Transcends genres. Daybreakers is another one that I think is kind of underrated as well. Stakeland is another one that I feel like is underrated, but a really good vampire movie. Favorite slasher movie? Tourist Trap, with Chuck Connors as Mr. Slauson, kind of a supernatural slasher, totally creepy. Anything that has to do with like you know, masks and, you know, dolls and just creepy, you know, mannequins and stuff like that always freaks me the heck out. Yeah, alien abductions, evil creepy killer kids, killer dolls, mannequins, and then recently old people, killer old people, like The Visit and The Taking of Deborah Logan. Those creep me out. But the original House and Sorority Row, the original My Bloody Valentine, Intruder, Just Before Dawn, the prototypical backwoods slasher, The Hills Have Eyes. I'm kind of torn. I kind of like the remake a little bit more than the original now. I even like The Hills Have Eyes 2, the recent one. Alright, next up is, what is your favorite psychological horror movie? For me, hands down, it's got to be The Shining. Now, that's just an all-time classic. Next, though, would be Session 9. I feel like that one's kind of underrated, but now getting way more momentum. Repulsion would be up there as well. Next up would be, what is your favorite, or who is your favorite horror crush? It could be a character, actor, or actress. There's a lot of, beautiful women in horror movies, but for me, Danielle Harris. I've had a crush on her for so long. Very happy I got to do a phone interview with her. I was so tempted to be like, I used to have a big poster of you on my wall when I was a kid, but I opted not to say that. But that was a great experience, and she's super stunning. Next up would be, who is your favorite horror movie killer? Again, I'd have to go with The Thing from John Carpenter's The Thing. Just the fact that it can take the shape of any living being. Again, you could be a person, you can, acts like it, speaks like the person. It could be a dog. I would also go with the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers. I love that. Can't wait for Jeepers Creepers 3. The Xenomorph from Aliens. The Queen Xenomorph 2. Predator. The Clowns from Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Jason Voorhees is a classic for sure. You can't go wrong there. Harry Warden, the Miner. I always liked My Bloody Valentine. I felt like that deserved a whole franchise. What is your favorite horror movie franchise? Perfect timing. I think at least of the big ones, I would have to go with Friday the 13th. I feel like those ones had the best sequels out of the bunch. I feel like Halloween had a lot of stinkers as a franchise. I like Phantasm. I feel like that's kind of underrated. But a couple of later ones I wasn't quite as big of a fan of as the first couple ones. But yeah, I would definitely... Nightmare on Elm Street's a great one too. But so I would have to definitely go with Friday the 13th. What is your favorite horror movie sequel? That's such a tough one too. Depends on what you consider a sequel. Like for the Dead trilogy, they don't necessarily follow up, but there's certain things kind of similar. So there's certain ones like that, but I would have to go Aliens. I'm a big fan of Jason Takes Manhattan. I know a lot of people don't like it, but it's cheesy fun and I love it. Kane Hodder. Cold Prey 2, Wreck 2, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, even though it doesn't necessarily, have Michael Myers in it, but I still love it. Evil Dead 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors. Favorite horror movie remake. There's actually surprisingly some good horror remakes. The Hills Have Eyes. I thought Alexander Aja did a fantastic job. Cronenberg's The Fly. Dawn of the Dead from Zack Snyder. I know it gets a lot of hate, but I loved it. Very great modern take. You lose that kind of social commentary that Romero had in the original. But I love certain segments, like when they're doing the shooting game, the celebrity zombie lookalike. I love that. But great cast in there too. Great tension. Very palpable. The zombie baby. Trying to think of what other... the Maniac remake really surprised me with Elijah Wood. That worked really well. The Ring, I liked it better than Ringu. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The Blob remake was awesome. Favorite foreign horror movies. There's so many amazing foreign horror movies. Who Can Kill a Child, a Spanish one, is my all-time favorite evil killer kid movie. Inside, Bedeviled, The Wailing, Let the Right One In, Devil's Backbone, Cemetery Man, Them, Cold Prey 2, Frontiers, Wreck 2, Mutants, which is a French infected movie that's super underrated. Audition, Thirst, Tale of Two Sisters, Vampire, Dead Snow, The Beyond, Suspiria, Deep Red. I would put Dead Snow probably on one of my all-time favorites for zombie movies too. And I guess Fulci's Zombie too, that's kind of iconic. Next up would be favorites... Wait, where am I at? Hold on. I'm losing track here. Most overrated horror movie in your opinion. Blair Witch Project, hands down. That movie was not horror in my opinion. It was just boring. Nothing really happened. There's walking around the woods. Basically, I feel like anybody could make that movie if they have a camera. Just blow snot bubbles, make stick figures. Just nothing. It was really all about the marketing. Genius marketing, but the movie itself was boring. It wasn't scary. It was easily the most overrated horror movie ever. Paranormal Activity would also be on that list. All the Saw movies. Sinister, Insidious. I like Insidious, but I felt it was overrated. But yeah, Blair Witch Project #1, Paranormal Activity #2, Saw movies. I like the first Saw movies, but then they drastically go downhill. After #3, they're unwatchable for me. What's a horror movie that most people hate that you love? The Hills Have Eyes 2, the recent one. I know people crap on it. The acting's shaky in the beginning, but once they get into the hills, it settles down. Great gore effects in there, and I love that the creatures in the hills, they have like unique characteristics. So I thought that was really awesome. Favorite underrated horror movie? Bedeviled. I've been talking about that movie for like 4 years. Check it out. I would also say Who Can Kill a Child, I think, is underrated. Mutants, which again is a French infected film. Hell, which is a post-apocalyptic movie. Pen, Cold Prey 2, Last Shift, All Hallows Eve, which is a great Halloween-themed horror anthology with probably the scariest clown in horror movie history, Art the Clown. Bloody Knuckles, Last Days on Mars, Open Grave, Husk, Frailty, The Divide, Borderlands, Sleep Tight, The Horde, Julia's Eyes, Juan of the Dead, which is a great zomcom, basically a Cuban version of Shaun of the Dead. Pontypool, Afflicted, a great found footage. I don't want to kind of give away the twist to it, but that genre works so well. And I'm not a big fan of found footage in general. Splinter, Blood Creek, Devil's Pass, Storm Warning, Shadow, Primal, the Poughkeepsie Tapes. What horror movie, this is the last question, what horror movie scared you the most? Now, when I was a kid, it was The Exorcist. But then I got a little bit older, and then I would say Fire in the Sky, which is an alien abduction movie, supposedly based on a true story, but when he's taken up on the alien ship and he's on the operating table, nightmares. I couldn't watch that movie again for like a decade. Freaked me out so much. Nightmares for so long. And then the Poughkeepsie Tapes would be the most recent one that freaked me out. It's a found footage movie, probably the best found footage movie out there in my opinion, following a serial killer, and there's some creepy imagery in there, and the final scene just stays with you long after viewing. So there you go, that is the ultimate horror movie tag, 20 questions. Please take part. I tag everyone. So if you want to do it, make a video response, or if you don't make videos, leave a comment down below. Let me know your choices for the horror movie tag and your favorites of all those ones. I'll leave the questions down below again in the description section. And hope everybody is doing well and that you enjoy this horror movie tag. And cheers.